Gerald Horne is the Chair of History and African American Studies at the University of Houston, and he joins us now to discuss this issue which has dominated the news here for several days now. Thank you so much, Professor Horne, for speaking with France 24 this morning. We heard President Barack Obama speaking earlier. He said Americans are not as divided as some have suggested. Do you agree with this assessment?
I beg to differ. I think it's going to be very difficult to solve this crisis for a number of reasons. Number one, there is a lot of mythology surrounding the formation of the United States, which celebrated its 240th anniversary just this past July 4th. That is to say, there is this idea that this was this flawless revolution, even though, as you know, in the United States, there are systematic critiques of the French Revolution, Cuban Revolution, every revolution except this one. And it ignores the fact that enslaved Africans did not necessarily benefit from this so-called revolution, nor did the indigenous population. However, because of this mythology, it becomes very difficult to solve the issues and problems that bedevil the African American community in particular. And until we grasp that nettle, I dare say that this crisis will continue to fester.
Would you say, Professor Horne, that what we're seeing now is a continuation almost of this revolution amongst African Americans?
I think that what you're seeing right now in the United States is a lot of anger and frustration amongst young Black people in particular. At the same time, the U.S. administration headed by Barack Obama fails to engage the point that there are specific and unique and peculiar problems that beset the African American community. When this community goes to Barack Obama for satisfaction of their demands, he tells them that he's the president of all the people, not just the president of Black America. Yet when other communities come to him for satisfaction of their demands, for example, the gay and lesbian community, he responds. Some of us are scratching our heads and trying to wonder what is the difference. I think that the difference is that Barack Obama and the U.S. elite generally has been intimidated by white racism, which objects to any engagement or satisfaction of unique demands of the African American community.
Professor Horne, would you say then that race relations have deteriorated under Barack Obama's presidency?
I would say that race relations have not improved. I think a turning point took place during the summer of 2009, just after Barack Obama had taken office, when a Harvard professor, Henry Louis Gates Jr., who happens to be African American, was arrested in his own home in Massachusetts by Cambridge police officers. Mr. Obama, understandably and justifiably, took the side of this Harvard professor, not least on the basis of class. He's one of the best paid professors in the United States of America. However, many in the white majority objected. They felt that he had deserted the banner of the police. They turned on him with a vengeance. And since that point, Mr. Obama has been very reluctant to speak up on questions of racism in the United States of America.
And just finally, Professor Horne, what do you think can be done to improve this situation? Does it need a new president to improve race relations?
Well, I think if you look historically in terms of how race relations were improved in the United States of America, oftentimes it came with an external shock. That is to say, slavery was abolished, not least because of pressure from Haitian revolutionaries and British abolitionists. I think France has a role to play, after all. But for France, the revolution of 1776 would not have been successful. I dare say that France would be well served if it would put pressure on the United States to do something with this festering problem of racism, because I don't think the country can solve the problem on its own.
Professor Gerald Horne, Chair of African American Studies at the University of Houston, thank you so much for speaking with us here on France 24 this morning. In other news now, two Russian pilots